would be to embed it directly in your body. They can't steal your arm, they can't steal your hand. Not only that, but imagine how simple it would be when you're in the store and you want to make a payment and you just walk up to the reader device, press your hand to it, and walk out of the door. With one of these devices containing the same information that right now you present whenever you scan a credit card, it would be very simple. So the idea, and I can't emphasize enough how much I think credit cards are really a problem. Because when you pay with a credit card, you are essentially paying with a number, and that's it. It goes out into the ether. Nothing but numbers are changing hands across the globe every time you pay with a credit card. Put that number in a chip, put it in a mark in your hand, and you're all set. Right? Now, I want to talk, I'm going to come back to this in just a second. Okay. All right. Now, the tiny chips, the radio frequency identification chips that are going to make a lot of this possible, the identifying people from a distance, the using a device to make a payment, the transmitting of information using radio waves without actually having to pull anything out or hand anything to anybody, the thing that would work if you had your hand pressed up against a reader device, that is a tiny device that is actually the size of a speck of dust or a piece of glitter. What you're looking at here are radio frequency identification chips. They're tiny chips that contain unique identifying numbers. Those tiny chips, if hooked up to an antenna, are capable of beaming out information or actually having a radio wave beamed at them and sending back information of up to 20 or 30 feet away. If they're hooked up to a battery, they can actually do that all the way up to a satellite. That's unlikely because the battery pack at this point would be quite large in order to do that. But this is the device that is inside of this VeriChip that we were just looking at. Inside of here. Now, this is the tiny piece of glass that gets embedded in people's upper arms if they sign up with the Applied Digital Solutions technology. Inside of it is a tiny chip containing a unique identifying number for each human being. It's wrapped around with a little metallic coil, and you can't really see it there, but can you see sort of the copper wire that goes around and around? Now, this thing is actually quite small, as you can see here, small enough as to be almost undetectable in your body. And I want you to think about that coil for just a minute, because I'm going to be talking about it in relation to Revelations. Okay. This image here is from the VeriChip. You can see at the bottom it says Get Chipped. Their big promotional scheme is to use this for security purposes. In the financial arena, okay, now again, we're talking buying and selling. VeriChip has enormous potential as a personal verification technology. Now remember what I said earlier. You'd have to verify who you were in order to make sure you're being charged the right tax rate or in order to make sure you're putting the right purchase of strained peas into the database. This would be a technology that would make that possible. It's one of the ways they're promoting it, and it's one of their great ideas for it. VeriChip accomplishes this without batteries or any internal source of power. It lies dormant under your skin until energized by a proprietary VeriChip reader. Now, this is a little bit misleading. This idea that it doesn't contain batteries would lead you to think that there's no energy coming out of it. What happens, though, is in order to read this, you have to be bombarded with energy from outside. So the energy goes actually into your body. Electromagnetic energy from a reader goes into your body, hits this device, it activates inside of you and sends back its number. We do not know the long-term health effects of having these devices in human bodies and having them pick up and amplify radio waves and send them back. We have no idea what that would do over the long haul. Okay. Now, this is a slide from an industry consortium called the Auto ID Center that wants to promote the use of these tiny tracking devices, the RFID tags, for a variety of different reasons. Perhaps the most disturbing of them, in addition to counting humans, would be to count and number every item on the planet and use it to replace the barcode. So physical items could actually be identified and numbered and linked from a distance and tracked. Now, one of the things on this slide that they talk about is it would take 23 bits. That's the numerical information it would have to contain in that tiny speck of dust-sized chip to number every automobile on the planet. It would take 29 bits, or zeros and ones, a string of 29 zeros and ones to number all the computers. And here's the creepy part. It would only take 33 zeros and ones to give a unique identifying number to every human being on the planet. So 001, 011, do that 33 times, and you've got a unique number for everyone. Now, the disturbing part here is that this industry consortium, which consists of some of the biggest global companies in the world, including Procter & Gamble, including Johnson & Johnson, Kimberly-Clark, International Paper, big companies, Coca-Cola, these guys should be thinking about products, and yet on here they're naming human beings. So this technology, with all of this backing, by the way, the Department of Defense and the U.S. Postal Service are also backers of this technology. The fact that they're putting human beings on their slides and their internal documents as a way to utilize this technology is a little bit worrisome. And definitely by putting one of these numbers into one of these verichips and implanting it into a human being, you could verify them. You could have a number associated with them. You could link that number up to a database, and you could require them to present that in order to buy or sell for the reasons that we talked about. The company producing these chips is a company called Alien Technology. And you can't really see it very well, but it's got, I think, one of the creepiest logos I've ever seen. It's black. It's got red on a black background. It has what looks like almost 3 claw marks sort of screeching across the screen. And in fact, most of the imagery associated with this technology is quite dark. At a conference I attended about 2 months ago, there was a gentleman from Philip Morris talking about this technology. He was talking to a bunch of global executives from global companies who deal with moving products around. And he was telling them, you know, when this comes out, when we have radio devices and everything, when we're tracking everything all over the planet, you're going to need to really change the way you run your warehouse in your back room. And do you know what he said? And he meant this in terms of you're going to have to totally change the way you do business and revolutionize your thinking about moving products. But his statement was, this technology will destroy our way of life. The purpose of this technology is to destroy our way of life. Now, it's interesting because in his saying that, the whole room went silent. By the way, these are people who love the idea of tracking things as they move around. But even then, the room went silent because that was a pretty heavy statement. And I don't think he meant that it's going to absolutely destroy our way of life as we live day to day. But I also don't think he realized the symbolic importance of what he had said. Because if we do actually number every human being, and if we do number every physical item, and if we can keep track of all of that through databases and through computer systems, it will actually destroy our way of life. There will be no more freedom. There will be no more privacy or no more ability to walk around and even talk to other people freely, because your every move will be monitored and tracked. Right, there's the chips. And these devices, as I said, this industry consortium, they've already begun appearing, these radio frequency devices, in consumer products. What you're seeing here is a package of Gillette razor blades that's been equipped with one of these unique numbers, making it trackable from a distance. The purpose here was shoplifting prevention, but ultimately they want to put one of these on every physical item that we buy, meaning that not only would you be identifying yourself with your chip as you made your purchase, but all of the things you bought would also be identified with you, linked in a database. And in essence, it would make it difficult in a world where, let's say, there is the mark of the beast, and you've got a brother-in-law who's maybe willing to take the mark of the beast and give you the stuff that he buys so you can survive. In a world like that, if he bought a shirt, paid for it with his mark, and then handed it to you, that shirt could be tracked at a distance. It could be identified as you walk through a doorway, and they could say, hey, wait a minute, you're not Joe Schmo. You don't have the chip in your... In fact, now we've identified you as being the guy who's in trouble for not taking the chip, and now we're going to scan everything you're wearing, and we'll know where you got it. And we'll know who your accomplices were who helped you obtain these items. Now, one of the things that's going to have to happen globally, in addition to identifying everyone, linking everyone with the satellites and the database and the number of payment systems, getting everybody using credit cards away from cash and getting everyone to identify themselves, is have it be universal and standardized. And there is a massive push right now in industry and in retail to do that. It's called oneness. And in fact, this is from the Retail Systems 2003 in Chicago, creating oneness among systems, supply chain, and business. And the idea is that everything will be standardized. Now, there are Walmarts all over the world. Walmart is now the biggest retailer on the globe. Walmart has the capacity to put many other businesses out of business. And in fact, there was a statement a couple years ago in England that England was too small for 3 grocery chains. So the idea is to put, and in fact, we've seen a huge loss. People talk about loss of biodiversity. I talk about loss of retail diversity. If you're over 30, think back to how many grocery stores there were when you were a kid, or how many department stores, or how many anything stores. And now think of how many there are today. I'm boycotting Walmart and Target because of their involvement with this RFID technology. There is nowhere where I can go to buy basic things. In fact, I needed dish towels the other day.